Number 2, Cincinnati. Really excited. I think our kids are excited. Probably a little bit more excitement this week than last week. Got a Big 12 team coming in here, a team that's played it in the playoffs. Really good players, good athletes, and it'll be a challenge for us. So we're looking forward to it. We've had a good week of practice preparation. Kids are fired up about the game, playing offensively, defensively, and special teams. So we're excited. Questions?
Pat, just looking at the quarterbacks on your
He always
roster.
beat you, Jerry.
He's younger than me.
Just looking at the quarterbacks on your roster, how do you go about getting a scout team look to emulate a mobile quarterback?
You know what? We haven't. We've used our guys. We got pretty good athletes over there as it is. So we haven't gone to that where we, have gotten somebody. But there's one guy I've got my eye on when we really, really, really need it. And there's quarterback runs. They're not a big quarterback run team, so we're not worried about quarterback. But Cruz Brookins is my guy. He's my. I've got him in my back pocket. We haven't really talked. I haven't talked to him about being that guy at one point, but he will be a great quarterback when we get to that. When there's a lot of quarterback runs, so we'll I'm sure we'll face somebody like that this year.
So Pat, is Emory more of a run to scramble more than a design run?
Yeah, I mean, if he scrambles out of pocket, if he doesn't like it, he's going to take off and run. He'll be more of a run scramble. They'll have a little bit of option, but I don't think there's, not that he won't, but it's either hand off the option, to the dive back, or he'll pitch it. But probably Saturday he'll keep it, I guess, right? So, but we have not really seen him keep it. And I think everybody's got a plan of making sure the quarterback doesn't take too many hits. You got a long season. Lots of games, and nobody wants to get the quarterback knocked out early in the season. So I think we're the same way. You got to be smart about what you're doing with those guys, and but I wouldn't be shocked if he carries it.
You guys have gotten used to different concepts that have challenged you guys over the years. How do you pass down the lessons that you teach to previous teams when new guys like Javon McIntyre and Philip O'Brien are now learning the position at safety without reinventing the wheel every year?
Yeah, I mean, hopefully they've learned from the other guys. I mean, if you sat in our meetings every day, PJ was a backup a year ago and sitting there listening, watching every day. So he's in Eric Howitt's shoes every day. He's in Brandon Hill. So those guys are paying attention. They learn, they see, and then we go back and watch tape. If there's a problem we have, we go back and watch tape with them and say, hey, watch Eric do it, watch Brandon Hill do it. So, that's a good question. I mean, we're always, that's what we are as teachers. I mean, if you forgot some of the quizzes, if you got, we got to go back and have a big test or a midterm. We go back and review the information. So there's review sessions. So
you talked about Corleone on Monday. What about the rest of their front seven? What's the kind of problems that they present?
It's an odd front. I think it's a Briggs, number 9, I believe he is, the defensive end. I mean, I think he's really good too. I think both of those guys are guys, but they're all Division I players. I mean, they're all good. I mean, we're trying to talk about the elite guys, and we'll miss an elite guy, but we'll find out Saturday, who those guys are. But they're going to move and twist, and our guys on offensive line got to be really good in protection as far as just some of the different stuff they'll throw at you.
How fast is your defense performing right now when you're watching them in practice and just grading how they're playing right now?
I give them a B. I think they're okay. We'll find out Saturday. I mean, I think this is this will be a bigger challenge. So, it's hard to say last week everything was good, right? Except the last play. But everything was good, and go from there.
On Saturday, you said that there were times where Phil could have ran where he didn't. Could you explain a little bit more about what situations you're thinking about where he could have?
Yeah, I mean, just there's times in the game, and again, everybody can have it, and that's what Coach Signetti thought from the press box during the game. Like, oh, he should have taken off, run. But then when you watch tape, you're like, I can see why he didn't run. Sometimes going through Coach's eye in the box as opposed to the dude that's on the field, it's a little bit different. But Phil made good decisions, so we're not worried about that. But there's times where you just want to, if he runs, it just makes that defense pull up, and then the next time they go pull up, they think you're running, and then you throw it over the head. So there's those things. If they know you're always going to, scramble to throw. You just don't want to be that guy that's 100% scramble to throw or scramble to run.
One of your coaching colleagues said that the new clock rules made the game feel like it was dramatically shorter. Did you feel like your game was dramatically shorter?
We had 36 plays on defense. I think it was a hard game to determine that, just because the offense kept the ball for so long. But I've had ACC referees tell me it's not going to be shorter. It's about what they do. Every first down will be a second, but nothing new. But some people have said that. Maybe we'll get a better feel. Standing and the stress on the sideline for whatever it was, didn't seem any shorter.
Pat, on Monday you talked about some concerns with just the A gap and how you guys went about blocking that on Saturday. How do you go about addressing those issues this week?
The A gap. What do you?
You said
You lost me.
protecting the A gap.
Yeah, you did. Yeah,
Yeah.
You talked about.
Oh, I got you. A or B gap. Okay.
Yes.
Again, we're talking about just pass protection,
Yeah.
and they're big on like letting the ends go ahead up the field. But you want a quarterback to be able to step up in the pocket. But when there's pressure in the A or B gap, then of course it's hard for the quarterback to step up in the pocket and make the throw. Okay, and so it's just, how do you it's just making sure you're not getting beat inside. If that makes sense. I mean, what your tackle's getting beat inside. Even Matt, there was a couple times where the guy came inside, and the quarterback feels it. He didn't get to the quarterback, but he still feels that inside pressure. So you just you practice it, and it just becomes an emphasis for the day.
I've been recruited to ask you a Kenny Pickett question.
You've been recruited to ask?
Yeah. Ask you a Kenny Pickett question. When did he make his most improvement? Was it from his first year as a full-time starter in 18 to 19, or was it some other? His most improvement, when did it come?
Well, that's a tough question. I mean, he made improvements all the time. I can't say there was this gigantic improvement. Everybody will say from 20 to 21, an ACC championship. Everybody's like, oh my God, what happened? But remember, COVID was 20, right? I mean, so that was a tough year. The timing with receivers dropping balls, and we led the country in drops. So if you added all those drops up there, you'd probably say there was no gigantic improvement from 2020 to 2021 except the championship. So I think it's a hard question. You got recruited to ask a bad question. You check your source for those questions. But he made improvements every day. I mean, he's going to make improvements weekly out here. I mean, he's going to make a gigantic improvement from last year to this year. I think people see a different guy.
Let me ask a follow-up, and maybe it's a better question. Then he got voted an offensive captain next door the other day.
Mm-hmm.
He's a young guy.
Yep.
He was in a prominent role here as a young guy after that, entering his sophomore year. What is it about him that allows him to? I mean, he's got a bunch of older guys in that locker room as opposed to
Right.
at least in school, it's 3-4 year range. What is it about him that allows him that commands that respect of more experience?
Well, I think the first thing, Will, is he works. I mean, he's a worker. I mean, he's, I bet you he's got his car's one of the first ones here in the morning, one of the last ones to leave. He's working at it. So the players see that. When they see the guys in the office, supposedly he's got his own little, workstation over there, office. I don't know if it's an office. But he's in there. So that's the first thing. He's leading by example. But he's got a way about him. He's not afraid to speak up. Some people see stuff and then they see it and they don't say anything. And, it could be with your bosses. I mean, he's not afraid to say, hey, let's do it this way. Or like, what are you doing? Make sure so he's not afraid to speak up. He's not going to, step out of bounds or across the line, but he's not afraid to, give his opinion on something. Whether it's with the coaches, which is what you want. I mean, I had a great Eagles meeting in here. I said, some players say some stuff in here today. I'm like, that's good leadership right there. I appreciate you telling me that. You need to know. And I'm sure there's, it's not only leading, the players, but it's also the staff and personnel over there, support staff, knowing that like this guy, he has a good feel for what's happening in that locker room.
I know it's just a few months, but how much of that do you see in Phil?
Too early probably to say that. I think we'll see it as the season goes on. So I think that's something, he demonstrated on the field. And I got other indicators just from our captains about him that are really, really good. But I think it's still too early for me to say as a coach, for me to say it.
Pat, how is Jake approaching the challenge of Corleone, and why is it that he's worked so well for you at center?
Jake is, he's an experienced guy in there, and I think Blake Zabovic could go in and do that center position as well. But, Jake really wanted to do it. I think he's got, visions of being an NFL center someday. He's really smart. If you heard him on my radio show last night, he's unbelievable. He's got a podcast with you, Jared. I heard you guys are hooked up.
Oh.
Noah's got that going. It's a good move. He's so smart. I give you credit there. He's smart. I hope you're paying him good.
I'm personally not paying him anything.
But you gotta buy dinner every once in a while. But he's smart and he knows what he's doing. And he's snapped the ball pretty good as well. Pretty important to get that ball to the quarterback.
Pat, I know this game is important because it's the next game on your schedule, but for these interconference games, you saw with Florida State and LSU happening the other day, these happen in September. Does it matter? Do these games matter in terms of affecting the perception of a conference?
I think for sure. I think there's a respect factor. I mean, you look at what, is a great win by Mac Brown down in North Carolina, great win by Coach Norvell at Florida State. I mean, I was excited for those guys. And, you hear so much about how, how much money they get. And that's all, the whole offseason is about how much money they make. Well, how about win the football game? That's what it's all about. And coach them better. But, my hat goes off to Norvell, and those are big wins. So I think it's a pride thing. And there's some people think that the Big 12 is bigger than the ACC right now. Well, it's our chance on the field to prove that. They got numbers, but I'll take our quality in the ACC.
Did you follow up on that? Was so much talk to concentrate on what the SEC was doing in expansion and what the Big 10 was doing in expansion, the Big 12 was doing in expansion, and you guys kind of come in at the end, and was there a party that's like, do you think the conference is still viewed as a lesser by those standards?
You prove that on the field. You can add whoever you want. We can go add UConn and all these other schools. Does it make you better? It's about adding quality, and add quality things that make sense. And to me, the SEC did the best job because they still got a regional opponent that still makes sense when you look at a map and you put all the schools on a map. You go, man, that makes sense, and they got quality too.
So you got those West Coast trips, at least one every other
year. Okay, Jay, we'll get you on the plane. We'll get you out there. Get you traveling.
You get a full week. You get 2 weeks up there. You just do back-to-back games. Just stay out there in California.
Yeah, that's a lot of fun. A lot of fun.
What do they do up on their defensive front that you guys have to account for to get the run game going?
No different than anybody else. I mean, it's a 3 down. A lot of times they'll have a 4 down look, which looks just like we do. But nothing abnormal that we haven't seen before.
Andre talked about how they said, I think they're big, they're fast, and other than that, we got no problems. What is their size about that you guys have to account for?
I mean, they're big physical. I mean, their nose tackle, the godfather there, Corleone, he looks like his thighs are this big. He's a big guy. He's an All-American. And Cradle will have his hands full, but I've got my faith in Jake and our offensive line to do their job on him. So, I mean, every week we're facing good players. It's not going to be 1 week. I mean, it's every week. The next week will be the same thing. They're good players every week that are bigger and fast, and we got to do a good job blocking them.
Is this your biggest offensive line? You got like 6'5", 320 average.
Yeah, I don't know. Brian O'Neill came out to summer camp. He was 305, right tackle for the Minnesota Vikings. Does size really matter? I don't know.
I didn't say
you
it
have to have
mattered.
good feet. I don't know. Big, fast.
Pat, you guys had a very, very active defensive line rotation last Saturday. Will it be as active this upcoming week, or will it be slimmed down a little bit?
It'll be slimmed down a little bit. I mean, it'll be slimmed down a little bit based on how the game is going, and so we'll play 8 guys up there for sure. Will we play? I mean, we got more guys in. I don't remember how early they got in, but the score got out of control early, where you were like, yeah, go ahead, go in. But it'll be a little bit more detailed this week as far as we'll see how it goes.
You faced Scott Satterfield a few times. What kind of an identity does his team tend to take on? And did you see that kind of identity from watching the tape from week 1?
Yeah, I mean, it's identical to what they're doing at Louisville. I mean, defensively, they have the same identity. Offensively, you see the same stuff. So, I mean, they're going to be a big 11 and 12 personnel football team. They're going to get some, a lot of 2-back sets. They like their 2-back sets. But it's stuff that we see every day in practice here with our offense. So there's a lot of carryover from, summer camp to what we see this week when they go into that 12 personnel. So we're pretty comfortable with our game plan versus some of that stuff.
Because you're familiar with them, you think you might see more wrinkles from them than you might normally see in it?
Yeah, I'm sure we'll see more wrinkles, and they're going to see more wrinkles too, right? I mean, there's going to be wrinkles all over the place. So that's part of the adjusting that you'll do during the game to find out, hey, what are they doing? Oh, they did that, okay. And then we have ways of making wrinkles during the game. Our stuff is simple enough that we know how to adjust, offensively and defensively. We got enough in, offensively and defensively that you have the adjustments. If they do that, we got this. So hopefully we adjust.
Pat, I feel like throughout your tenure as head coach, you've had a lot of big week 2 games. Penn State 3 times, Tennessee the past 2 seasons. What did you take from your preparation for those games that you're going to use against Cincinnati this weekend?
Haven't thought a thing about it. That's the first I heard of it. I appreciate you letting me know that. I didn't realize we had big week 2 games. Every game is a big game, right? Last week, as I sat here, it's like, that's a big game. This is just a big game. It doesn't matter. It's really, I don't look at the opponent. I always tell our guys, it's about us. It's not about them. It wasn't about Wofford. It's not about, what Cincinnati's got this week. It's about Pitt. It's about what we do, not what they do. Because we worry about them too much and we don't worry about ourselves, we got issues. We better worry about what we do and how we do it. So it's not who we play, it's how we play.
Hey Pat, did you notice the size of the student body on Saturday?
The Panther Pit was unbelievable.
Okay, but are you aware that there's another 5 sections in the 500 level?
I know they're up high. They're behind
they
the
were,
They were up there. The Panther Pit has been unbelievable, and I think they're going to be even better. 6:30. We had to wake them up a little earlier yesterday, or last Saturday, I should say. But the Panther Pit was unbelievable. We appreciate them. We appreciate all the fans. I mean, the fans even last week were really, really good, and it's gotten better every year. At the bonfire the other day, I talked about the last 3 years. They've been, the 3 classes. Those people that have been here the last couple of years have been unbelievable. So I think that support continues to grow.
Anything final? Thank you.